Chapter 5, Jenny and Rob. As Chandra walked boldly to the elevator, she realized that now she had nowhere to stay. If she left Sky, she inherently left Soul Step. Her job and her home all lived there with him. She couldn't take it back now, so she just kept walking, hoping he wouldn't come after her. Behind the closed door of room 240, a stunned Sky couldn't even fathom what had just occurred. He wanted to run after her, but he was in shock. He wouldn't even know what to say. What did she mean she was done? Could she be fooling him? Calling his bluff? But he knew such was not her way. She was leaving him, something he never could have imagined. Images of himself pre-Chandra flashed before him, and he figured that he must have really deserved what had just happened to him. But there was also too much alcohol in his system for him to move with so much bravado. He had a reputation to uphold, and so he simply let her walk away. He figured he would wake up in the morning and she would be laying there by his side. They'd actually had similar blow-ups before, although this one felt slightly different. And then, with a strange, twisted knowingness, Sky knew what he needed to do. He needed to talk to Rob Strom, the same Rob he had unwittingly punched in the face not a few months before. He had to discuss this matter with someone who could get him back in touch with Jade. Yes, his sister could help him out now. He just knew if he could get back in her graces again, that he could somehow get Chandra back. It was worth a shot, anyhow. He pulled his cell out, and with drunken, shaky fingers, he pulled Jade's name up on the contacts and dialed her number. She answered right away, knowing that a call from Sky, albeit unexpectedly, was usually a call for help. He had a way of seeking her out in his most desperate of situations, the bond between them seeming at times strange and otherworldly. "Sky, how are you?" Jade answered, in between bites of vegan strawberry shortcake she had made for everyone. They were celebrating Rob's upcoming solo tour of the Netherlands and Eastern Europe, places he had always wanted to go. And they loved him over there, with every concert date being sold out way in advance of ticket sales officially being announced. Life with Rob was really, really good at this time. And Jade hoped Sky didn't want to intrude on her happiness. He had a way of showing up and ruining her metaphorical party, so to speak. And though she loved him dearly, she didn't want his jealousy to upend her good time. She knew Sky didn't approve of Rob, but for whatever reason, she was never really clear. Jade just tried to ignore him and keep Rob's sweet face away from Sky's fists. "Jade, love, I'm all right. No, I'm better than all right. I'm fucking fantastic," he said, slurring his F's. "Hon, what's going on?" Jade was nervous at the sound of his drunkenness. "Is Rob available?" he stammered and sat down on the thick faux fur duvet at the end of the large king bed. The suite seeming to now close in around him. "Sky, you're drunk," Jade said, getting perturbed. "I am most certainly not going to put Rob on," she said, covering the mouthpiece and motioning for Jenny to sit beside her. Rob was in the other room, choosing the set list for the upcoming shows. Murray had told him to be well prepared, and so he had made an effort to do as much in advance as he could. Why Murray needed him so well taken care of, he didn't know, but if Murray said he meant it for a good reason, and that was good enough for Rob. "Sky's drunk and wants to talk to Rob," Jade said to Jenny. Jenny, as Sky, holding the phone more lightly now, let it fall next to him as he lay back on the bed. "Sky, honey, what's going on?" Jade said with concern and a deep love for her brother. She did love him with a strange attachment she never could completely understand. Jenny motioned that she could get on the call with Jade on her cell, but Jade didn't respond. Sky, can you hear me?" she said, more nervous now, as the dead silence came over the line. Then a deep snoring. Sky Monroe had passed out. "That bastard," Jade said, ending the call. "Why did he have to call me?" But she knew that first thing in the morning, she would be calling him back to check in. He was, after all, her only brother and sweet friend, despite all the fights. And as she turned her attention back to Jenny, shaking her head, she decided to forget it for now and enjoy the rest of the evening with Rob and Jenny. She could handle Sky later. At that, Jenny's phone rang, and Chandra Rose's name popped up on the caller ID. "I need to take this call," Jenny said, stepping outside, knowing that Chandra and Jade didn't always get along. "Chandra, you're back," Jenny said, excited that her best friend had come back from her 3-week getaway. "Jenny, I need to talk to you," Chandra said, bursting into tears. "I don't have anywhere to go." Chandra cried softly into the phone. "I've done something awful," she said, hoping Jenny was available. Her psychic senses dulled with the fresh pain and realization of what she had just done. "Of course," Jenny said. "Come on by the house. Buzz me when you're here," she said, knowing somehow that this wasn't good. "We'll figure it out together," she said gently to her best friend. "Thanks, I'll see you soon," Chandra said, picking up her bag and sliding into the back of the Uber. She wiped away her tears as she passed a paper with Jade's address to the driver. And as the small car sped towards the Pacific Coast Highway, she sat in the night air and dreamt about what was to come. Chapter 6. Sweet Delights. It was a short drive to the estate, but for Chandra it seemed like forever as she sat back and saw the last 24 hours pass by in front of her mind's eye. She was sure that she wanted this separation, but it almost felt as if it wasn't her making it happen, but something outside herself. Too emotionally embroiled in the situation, it was hard for her to even hear her own guidance now. She hoped that with Jenny's help she could calm down enough to make sense of it all. Where had she gone wrong? When had it all changed? And then she knew that it was Billy Tavish who was the catalyst to this awakening within her. It was something she hadn't wanted, yet at the same time she felt driven to make it happen. And now that they had connected, something had shifted in her. But Billy wasn't her one. She knew that he was bound to another. So why then had he been the catalyst for her? So many unanswered questions that she began to frustrate at the not knowing, yet simultaneously knowing that this resistance only pushed the answer further away. How was she going to make sense of it all? She simply had to know and trust, as always, that this whole situation was being guided by a higher power with a capital H. The car drove swiftly down the PCH, and Chandra started thinking about how she was going to get out of her mess, for she had inadvertently, or maybe purposely, created it all for herself. Was her soul trying to tell her something? Something about Sky? Was he not her one, as she had so wanted to believe? And if not Sky, then who? Chandra didn't know if she'd had it in her to find out. It simply felt too overwhelming to think about at the moment. So she set her mind on not thinking about it, and instead she fell into a deeply meditative state as the Uber inched closer to Jade, Jenny, and Rob. In her mind, as it drifted, she saw a hazy cloud and heard her mother calling out to her to come home, but she quickly brushed the words of wisdom aside as she felt the car abruptly stop. "We're here, miss," the driver spoke kindly, thinking she was asleep. Chandra opened her eyes and saw the large, ornate gate of Jade's Malibu estate looking back at them, the captivating waters of the Pacific Ocean lapping beyond the large home. "Thank you," she said, picking up her bag and opening the door. She stood outside the gate and buzzed the house, knowing Jenny was with Jade. She stood in front of the oval camera lens so she could be easily seen as the driver waited patiently to be paid. Jenny saw her beautiful friend, and with excitement and a weird feeling of trepidation, she buzzed her in. "I'm with Jade and Rob in the big house," Jenny said, pulling on her jacket against the chill she knew would be outside as the evening air picked up from the ocean side. "I can walk from here," she told the driver, handing him her card. They said their goodbyes, and Chandra stepped inside the gates to the estate as they closed around her. She felt strangely out of place here, even though she had been in Jenny's home many times before. But this was different. She was different. Something inside her was shifting and changing, and she felt as powerless as the tides to stop it. She met Jenny coming up the long drive, and they both reached out for the other. Such was the love of the two best friends. And in between tight hugs and hellos, Jenny felt a deep sense of despair and sadness coming from her friend. And from behind all of that, she felt him.